All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Mad Chad and Eddie Show on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. As always, I'm your host, Eddie Provident, and with me is the new head of NFL officiating, my main man, Mad Chad Nolan. You got to get rid of the taunting call. Look, I know it helped the Steelers. I know it went in it went to our benefit, but man, is that a terrible call.
And I made the mistake of listening to some local talk radio, discussing the taunting penalty as I was dropping my kid off at preschool. And, right away, one of the older talk heads was, I want taunting completely out. I want the players to act like they've been there before. And I'm like, so what you're really saying now, listen, I think what needs to happen here is we need to actually define what the hell taunting is. Because if it's me doing like a spin kick, which by the way, I thought that celebration was great. Like spin kick and then
athletic as hell, that's for sure.
And you shouldn't be like, and your wife is on Instagram DMing other dudes. Okay, maybe you can't say that, but that's what Arthur Moats was saying, was that I don't really have an idea of what it is. That's my biggest gripe with it, is that once again the NFL has given a very subjective ruling to the refs who already had more power than they should have to begin with over these games.
And on top of that, Chad, it's not only that for me. This is one of the most competitive sports on the planet. It's maybe the most physical sport on the planet.
It's gladiator-esque.
Yeah. And now what we're doing is we're telling these guys, okay, you can't be excited about what's going on the field. And in this particular situation, and look, I clowned him on Twitter because I thought it was hilarious, right? I objectively thought, okay, he gets caught by the Steelers. He ends up on the Bears practice squad. He makes a huge play, game-changing play, and then gets a game-changing penalty called against him. I thought it was hysterical, the whole situation, personally. But what the NFL is asking these guys to do, they're already running on adrenaline, and then they're asking them to tone that down and say, hey, listen, don't get excited when you make a play, because anytime you get excited, it might be a penalty.
Well, okay. I have a theory, and this, I'm not going to bring race into this, because for one thing, Cash was his last name? He's white,
yeah.
So doesn't even matter.
Cash is Marsh.
But there is a little bit of a collective, the whole shut up and dribble stuff. And when I was scouring Twitter last night to see okay, most people were taking my stance as hey, I'm a Steelers fan, but that was a terrible call, and I need that call to go. I don't want to sit here and watch taunting penalties. These are grown ass men playing a gladiator sport. Let's just have fun. I want to be entertained. I had to throw that pun in there because that's one of my favorite movies ever, Gladiator. But and I saw a lot of people I just want them to act like professionals. They're playing football. This isn't the office. They're not accountants.
This isn't
what is happening.
This isn't me sending a really email, an email that shuts the whole company, and then going up to their desk and slamming their stapler. This isn't that. This is this is a dude tackling another dude after he's just fought an even bigger dude.
And then you're gonna you're going to throw a flag he hurt the other guy's feelings because he celebrated too hard.
Yeah.
No!
Look, more to the point, though, because, I don't really want to get lost in the weeds of this taunting call because, to me, it's a bad penalty, but I do think that referee called it to the letter of the law. I don't, it's a bad penalty that was called correctly, and that's the problem. When bad penalties are called correctly, it's a bad situation.
Yeah.
But more importantly, if I were a Chicago Bears fan today, I would be livid. The amount of penalties that were called on the Chicago Bears. There was that one. There was a phantom chop block call late in the game. It was a guy that was blocking TJ Watt, and it was inside the tackle, the tight end box. and he didn't even make contact with TJ Watt. They called that one. There was just a lot of things in that game that were questionable. I don't think that catch that for the Bears that they called a catch was a good catch. I thought that was an incomplete pass. And then, the only questionable call that I think they got right last night was the Ray McLeod fumble, because I thought that was a clear fumble.
Yeah.
Aside from that, everything that the refs did last night was like, and then not calling the false starts. I mean, TJ Watt hit on that last night in his post-game press conference. Everything, dude, like that. The officiating in that game on a national level was just on a national stage was absolutely horrendous.
And I'm just tired of officiating like that. There's a lot of Steelers fans who and the Yinzers were talking about this today, where like it does, like this is a win that does not feel great. Like this is an icky win.
No.
For one thing, because the team was collapsing as well, but also because,
and we'll get into that. We will definitely get into that.
The refs did benefit the Steelers a lot. The Steelers benefited from the officiating. Same thing with hockey. We bitch about the officiating in hockey all the time too. I'm just tired of the officiating having such a stranglehold on the outcome. And then, let's be honest. Here's some conspiracy theory for you. Okay, so this year the NFL partnered up with 5 major gambling companies, because now gambling's like officially a part of the NFL. And so it's funny when you watch a game and the point spread hits at the end and there was some officiating. I enjoy a lot of TikToks where I see like conspiracy theorists on there like, look, see, they needed to cover the 4 and they got but I'm just saying, when you watch a game like that last night, you go, maybe they do have too much say.
I think that's a rabbit hole we can get
sure.
someday. My flyover view is I think it would be impossible to keep as many people quiet as it would take to be quiet.
Yeah, it's just that the refs have too much subjectivity and power.
It's too much power, and there's too much wiggle room for them, too much judgment, and we're seeing that they don't handle the judgment well. And in every case, some of them do. This is not a knock on every official. I think there's some officials in sports that do a very good job, but in this case, I think last night was just an abject failure on the officiating crew. I think Steelers fans can walk out of that game pissed off and upset, and I think Bears fans could walk out of that game thinking that the officiating cost them a win.
I will say this though: if I'm a Bears fan, I'm feeling pretty good about the future because Justin Fields looked pretty good last night.
Hey, listen. This is I'm going to be careful how I say this so I don't get attacked by Yinzer Nation on Twitter. But I love Najee Harris. I've made it crystal clear that I love Najee Harris.
Make sure you say his name right.
Yeah, Najee. Yeah, Najee Harris. Yeah. But one thing that I will willingly admit, I wanted the Steelers to trade up and get Justin Fields.
Well, did you hear there's like legit reports that Tomlin was very interested in doing that?
I know he was. Yeah,
he liked him more than Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, and the thing is I would have loved to have seen the Steelers, and it's not because I don't like who Najee. It's the same thing that I thought about offensive line.
Sam Cosmi or guy like that. Yeah.
Najee Harris is by far, I think, going to be one of the top 3 running backs in football.
Can you imagine where they would be without him right now?
It would be bad. But with that said, quarterback, in my opinion, quarterback and offensive line are more important positions.
Oh, I'm glad you brought that
up. Yeah. So, and speaking of, that's a great segue to what you want to get to next. We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we're going to talk about some quarterback play from the Pittsburgh Steelers veteran. So this is the Mad Chad and Eddie Show on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. We will be right back after this break. All right, and welcome back to the Mad Chad and Eddie Show on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. I'm your host, Eddie Provident. With me, as always, is my man, Mad Chad Nolan. Before we went to the break, we started talking about the how quarterback and offensive line, in my opinion, are more important positions on the football field than running back, which is why I wanted to see the Steelers trade up to draft Justin Fields. Now, again, I am very happy that they got Najee Harris. And as you said, Chad, imagine where they would be without him, because he has been the workhorse in that backfield, and they'd be relying on Benny Snell or Kalen Ballage or Anthony McFarland, who really hasn't been available. They would be relying on one of those three guys to be the back, or it would be a running back by committee. It would be serious trouble without Najee Harris. So listen, I'm happy we got him. Okay, I'm happy the Steelers got him, but quarterback's a more important position on the football field, in my opinion.
Yes,
and it was painfully apparent that quarterback was a very important position on the football field on Monday night, because the defense blew another lead. Well, the defense and the special teams blew another lead. And Ben Roethlisberger, for the second week in a row, had to go out there in the fourth quarter, drive the team down the football field, get them in field goal range, or either score a touchdown or get them in field goal range to go up. And he did it again. 50th time in his career. That puts him at fourth all time? Third all time. And you wanted to talk a little bit about Ben, because listen, man, even at his old age, at 39, he's still playing very good quarterback. He's still playing the position at a pretty.
I don't even know if he's
level.
playing very good, but here's the thing. So let's look at the win streak they're on right now. They lost 3 games in a row, and now they've won 4 games in a row. And in those 4 games, he has 0. Yes, that's right. 0 interceptions. And
that's huge.
And that's really what the formula, we talked about, we keep saying the word formula, the Penguins, Steelers, we know the formulas that these teams need to use to win. The Steelers, play good defense, run the ball, don't turn the ball over. And that's what they've been doing. Well, we'll talk about the defense in a second, because, Ben did bail him out last night. But I just have a problem with this constant, people that I see on Twitter, sports pundits and analysts. Everybody has to protect their narrative at all costs. If you say something in August, Ben Roethlisberger is the reason why the Steelers won't make the playoffs, because that is something that I really saw a lot. And now it looks like, now they might make the playoffs, because they're 5-3 and they're probably going to win again this week, although you never know in this league. But he's playing what I would consider winning football. He's not the reason they're winning, but he is managing the game, so to speak. I hate that as a derogatory term. I think that's actually good. And I actually think Ben himself may have been humbled a little bit at the beginning of the season, because, they win the first game in Buffalo, and, Ben has I don't know if you guys have heard, but Ben has a little bit of an ego. At least that's what I hear. And right away, it's like, dude, I'm invincible. I'm 39. We just beat Buffalo, and I'm going to go out on a raw. And then they come out, he plays like shit, and they lose 3 straight games. And I've noticed him, have you noticed that he's under center now, and all of a sudden he's doing play action more?
What I've noticed, Chad, is he's playing the game to his skill set. Okay,
but also to what the team needs him to do, as opposed to what he wants to do.
I think those are, to me, one and the same.
Okay.
I think that in his early career, we've seen this evolution of Ben Roethlisberger, where in his first 3 or 4 seasons, he wasn't the guy that was going to make all the calls and all the reads at the line of scrimmage.
Go out and make some plays.
He was going to go out and be that gunslinger, right? Then it was kind of right when AB came on the scene. When Mike Wallace, when it was young, remember the young money, new money, old money. Right around then, Ben Roethlisberger had a few years where he was starting to be able to make the reads, and he was starting to be able to make the call outs at the line of scrimmage, and he had the offense, or he had the physical ability to go with that.
He became cerebral, which is one of my favorite words.
Right. And now we're seeing the opposite side, where he doesn't have the physical ability to do all of those things that he used to do, but he's becoming more of a thinking quarterback. Okay, and so maybe he's not going to go out and throw for 450 yards and 5 touchdowns anymore, but he will go out and throw for 250 and 1 or 2 with no interceptions and no plays that kill you. And that's what this team needs right now, because when you have Najee Harris, and look, for everything, and we'll get into this, everything that happened with that defense in the second half of the football game, when you have a defense that can do what they did against the Browns rushing game and against the Browns and hold the Browns to 10 points, and you can hold a team to, pretty much shut them down in the first half like they did with the Seahawks and the Bears, you don't need the quarterback to throw for 450 yards and 4 touchdowns. All you need the quarterback to do is to make a couple of plays and don't turn the ball over and get it into the hands of the playmakers. Even look at the last drive, Chad. It wasn't Ben Roethlisberger running around for 10 seconds of play, looking for a guy to get open, directing traffic and everything. He threw a perfect pass to Deontay Johnson on a slant pattern that led Deontay Johnson into open field, and then that let Deontay Johnson's skill do what it had to do. Okay, he let Deontay Johnson be the star of that play by facilitating him perfectly. And that is what the type of quarterback that he can be right now, and the type of quarterback that the team needs him to be right now.
And the thing about the narrative with Ben, again, like all the bad leadership, all the bad teammate narratives that you've heard from I want to put this on, a very small minority of his ex-teammates, because you go ask 99% of them, they love him, especially his current team. And again, so, okay, where is the objectivity in sports journalism where I'm looking at a 39-year-old Ben Roethlisberger who has a rookie running back, rookie tight end, rookie left tackle, rookie center, all 3 receivers are 3 years in the league or less. His offensive line has 2 other guys that are second-year or third-year players. It's one of the youngest offenses collectively in the entire league, with a 39-year-old quarterback. And now they've won 4 straight games. They might win 5 straight games. And I don't know, man. I don't know why someone's not coming up and going, maybe Ben just deserves a smidgen of credit for being a leader to these young guys.
And he's become that this year. You cannot doubt that he's become a leader to these young guys this year. If you want to argue that, I think you're just an idiot.
Or you just hate Ben, which is fine. Right. Yeah.
I mean, there are people out there that do. And that's, whatever.
Najee Harris was saying that he invited him over to his house at camp and stuff like that. But you don't hear that on ESPN. You hear, right. I don't hear Aditi saying that. I'm sorry. Right. I call a spade a spade.
And the other thing that you don't see, like you don't see him ever compared to the elites that are his contemporaries. You know what I'm saying? Like, you never see him compared to Drew Brees or Tom Brady or Peyton Manning or Aaron Rodgers. But he has 2 Super Bowls. He's 3rd all time in 4th quarter comebacks. He's doing things that those guys do, but they'll never give him that credit. Now, you can love or hate Ben Roethlisberger, the man, but Ben Roethlisberger, the player, in my opinion, is probably a top 10 to top 15 quarterback all time.
I have a top 15 for sure. Yeah. Let me throw a stat at you. Okay, so Ben's been washed and all this stuff, and I agree that he's way past his prime, and I agree that after this season, it is totally time to draft a successor. Hopefully it's someone mobile, and I know Tomlin wants someone mobile, but let me just throw a stat to all you Yinzers out there. Since the beginning of last season, the Steelers have only lost 6 games with him under center, and he has thrown 44 touchdown passes and 14 interceptions. That is plus 30.
Wow.
Now, Peyton Manning, when he was 39 years old, won the Super Bowl in Denver. He got benched for Brock Osweiler and threw 9 touchdown passes and 17 picks. So, But again, it was like Peyton's the greatest. He's the leader, right. Even though his defense literally dragged him to a Super Bowl. And that's all I want is just some objectivity when it comes to fans and sports coverage.
I feel like that's the least we can ask for in that. One thing I do want to talk about, though, I want to talk about this defense. I want to make a hard right turn here and talk about the defense.
He bailed him out last night,
right? What drives me nuts about this defense right now, Chad, is if you look at them in the first half, everything was going their way. And here, this is how I know if this defense is in a good place or not. The interior defensive line makes plays. All right. Look at, I believe it was the drive in the first quarter. All right. There was a second or third drive of the game for the Bears. Chris Wormley breaks through and forces Justin Field to scoot up in the pocket, to like shift, come up in the pocket. TJ Watt gets the sack off of it. Mm-hmm. Okay. Next play, Isaiah Buggs comes in and he blows up whatever play happened. Okay. Great play. Third play, Cam Hayward gets an interception. Yeah, I said that correctly. You heard that correctly. Cam Hayward gets an interception, now tied for the team lead in interceptions, which should tell you about the defensive backfield, which we're going to get to. But that is how I gauge where this defense is at. How is the interior defensive line playing? And Smitty and I talked about this on our Steelers Today show on Monday. They're being asked to replace Stephon Tuitt and Tyson Alualu, who are one's a Pro Bowler and one is,
I would consider both of them Pro Bowl caliber players.
Right. I would too. And so you're asking guys like Isaiah Buggs and Chris Wormley and Henry Mondo. You're asking them to replace two very good football players. And I don't think that you can expect them to be at that level all the time. But when they're on, they're good football players. They make things happen. They get that push. They eat the blocks so that the guys behind them, the linebacking core, can do their job, right? But then in the second half, it was like there was no push whatsoever. I don't know what happened. And when the interior defensive line doesn't get the push, then the running game for the opposing offense gets going. And when the opposing offense's running game gets going, well, then they can start doing play action. Now they can start moving their quarterback around. Now Justin Fields can get out where he's comfortable, move around, and make some throws out of the pocket. Right? All of that comes off of what this interior defensive line is doing. I think, to me, I know people are talking about prevent defense, and I know people are talking about all these other things.
Soft zone.
Soft zone. I think it's that simple, man. When the interior defensive line is clicking, this defense is clicking. When the interior defensive line can't get any push and isn't going, things start to fall apart for this defense fast.
Yeah, but I think that the offseason, the mismanagement of player assets played a part into why they have to scheme the way they do. And let's be honest, if we're being objective here, which is what we like to do, last year they had at cornerback Joe Hayden, Mike Hilton, Stevie Nelson, and Cam Sutton was number freaking 4. Now you go from that to Joe Hayden, Cam Sutton, James Pierre, Arthur Millette. I mean, I'm sorry. It is a huge drop-off. Last year, they were able to play man coverage a lot. Yep. And then they were able to get a lot of coverage sacks and rush guys with 4.
That's a great point.
But they can't do that right now because God bless them. I like Cam Sutton. I think he's a fine player, but he's probably not as good as Stevie Nelson's been the last 2 years.
No.
And James Pierre is actually somebody that I think that I would like to see continue to get a bigger role as we go, but he's still a very inexperienced player. He's raw. And I'm sorry, Arthur Millette. I mean, you're asking Arthur Millette and James Pierre to replace Mike Hilton and Stevie Nelson, and that, so it's hard for me to harp on them because Millette was really bad last night, but you got him guarding Allen Robinson. Whose fault is that?
It's not going to happen, right? and that's the thing, man. Like, there's glaring weak spots. As good as this defense is, there are some glaring weak spots. The crazy thing is, though, when Cam Hayward and TJ Watt are at the height of when they're playing their A game, all of those weaknesses just seem to vanish into thin air. Now they can't do, and that's the thing. Those two guys, as good as they are, I don't think we can expect them to do that for 60 minutes a night, a week.
And to your point about, missing Tuitt, missing Alu. I mean, for one thing, Tuitt, I mean, that I don't think people still realize how big of a loss that is. He's a very fantastic player.
But it doesn't make up for all of the ills in the interior at the inside linebacker position, but it's some of them. It explains some of them.
But also on a depth standpoint, because here's the thing here's TJ Watt is, I mean, we all know, I think at this point he has actually surpassed Aaron Aaron Donald as the best defensive player in football. But I was talking to my cousin Nick. Shout out to my cousin Nick, who listens to the show every week. So I was talking to him. Had a phone call, and he was saying the one thing about TJ is TJ plays with all of his energy almost every single play. That's why you do have to spell him from time to time, because he can't play like that. No one can play at the high motor all game. And the problem is when TJ's not out there, or if he's not able to give that 100% effort and get to the quarterback, they're really not getting anybody else to the quarterback.
And that's, Alex Highsmith, we need to say.
He's been okay.
And he was good in the run last night. He was really good against the run.
I thought he was fine.
Night. I'd like to see a little bit more quarterback pressure from Highsmith, but, I think that's going to come over time. I thought Taco Charlton showed some signs on Monday night when he was in. I heard his name a few times. I saw him make a couple of decent plays. So I think we've got something there. I think they're going to be able to, use him sparingly, but I think he's the type of player where if you use him the right way and in the right amount, he'll be fine. But yeah, man, it's going to be, I think, listen, we'll end this segment on this because we got to get to the break here. I think that this football season is going to be a lot of these types of games. I don't think we're going to get a lot of comfortable games, man. No. I just think this is going to be, every game's going to come down to Chris Boswell's foot, or it's going to come down to Ben Roethlisberger making a drive, or the defense making a drive. Or the defense having to make a big play like TJ Watt did in overtime against Seattle. I think that's what this season looks like for the Pittsburgh Steelers.
And I think that's fine. I mean, that's kind of what most people had them as, like a borderline playoff team. They're an aging quarterback, and basically a lot of these games they just need to survive the games, basically.
Yeah, and one thing here's how I'll end this segment. The Bills got upset. The Cowboys got upset
by the Jaguars, bro.
By the Jaguars and the Broncos. A lot of upsets and a lot of fluky, freaky games on Sunday. As much as the Steelers tried to give that game to the Bears, they didn't get upset, and that's a big thing there. So, look, we're going to take another break. When we come back, we're going to talk about a game between teams from Pittsburgh and Chicago, where one of the teams took a big lead early, blew it just to win it at the end. Stop me when you've heard that story before. This is the Mad Chad and Eddie show on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the Mad Chad and Eddie show on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. I'm your host, Eddie Provident, and with me, as always, is Mad Chad Nolan. Look, we've spent two segments. This is how we've been doing things lately when we don't have a guest. We spent two segments on the Steelers. We're going to spend the last 10, 15 minutes of the show talking some Penguins hockey. Tuesday night, the Penguins played the Chicago Blackhawks, went down 2-0 early, came back. Big Jeff Carter brought them all the way back 2-2, just like Big Ben Roethlisberger took care of things for the Penguins. Unfortunately, Tristan Jarry, as good as he's been Tristan Jarry has been a great goalie with 5-on-5 in regulation and in overtime. He's been really good. Everything that we've said bad about him so far, he has done things to turn that around. I will never be comfortable with him until he does it in the playoffs. But at least for the regular season, he's been a really good goalie until we get to the shootout. And boy, is he bad in the shootout, man, because these last two games against the Blackhawks and the Minnesota Wild have gone to shootouts. And Tristan Jarry, I might be able to score on Tristan Jarry.
I was going to say, come bring him up to Penn Hills Duck Hockey, yeah. Here's what's so crazy about that. I was talking to Dejan about this, and I think Dejan's also going to talk about this on his Daily Shot, but Jarry's actually been pretty good when he faces a breakaway and during the game. And I know it's different, it's a different pace and everything like that. But anybody that's ever played any type of hockey, because here we can harp on Jari, and Jari has been atrocious in the shootout, but so have the Penguins shooters. And like Chris Letang, like I'm sorry, bro, I got his jersey on right now. That attempt tonight was lame, and he's kind of had a lame attempt. Same with Crosby. Like, how many times have you seen Crosby just come down and just and it doesn't score? Like, you're like, yo, you're Sidney Crosby, bro. That's not what I'm expecting from this right now. And I think, honestly, it's, shootouts, if you've ever played any type of hockey, deck hockey, minor league hockey, beer hockey, NHL, it's just something you have to practice. And maybe they're not practicing it.
And listen, when if you remember back when Dan Bylsma was the coach, how good the Penguins were at
automatic
shootouts. They practiced it, and Dan Bylsma, remember, was Mustache Boy. Whoever lost in the shootout, whoever was the team loser in the shootout, was Mustache Boy. They made it fun. They made it something that the guys actually enjoyed doing. That's how Andre-Fleury, who is sporting, I think, over a 730 save percentage in shootouts, that is unreal. If you're looking at, Steve Mears said that he may be the greatest shootout goalie of all time. And now, granted, that's a pretty short time frame because it's only been around since the 2004-2005 lockout, 2005, 2006, whatever years it was. But I wouldn't disagree with that. The dude is incredible in shootouts, but it's because that team that he was on with Dan Bylsma back in the day, back in like from 2009 to 2012, 2013. They practiced them, and look at who he was going up against in the shootouts. He was going up against Chris Letang and Evgeny Malkin and Sidney Crosby.
And shootout specialist Eric Christensen.
I'm glad you said it, man, because I was about to. I'm glad you said it. Oh, man. I was going to say a little unknown name to people, and then you took it right out.
I'm sorry.
That is fantastic. No, that's the highlight of the show for me, man. But yeah, Marc-Andre Fleury was going up against these dudes that were killers in the shootout, and that's how he got good. They practiced it all the time. And I don't know. And this is what's concerning to me. Mike Matheson, on Monday after practice, they asked him about the Minnesota Wild game. Okay. And they talked to him. The question was about the late game collapses when they go to 6-on-5, when the opposing team pulls the goalie. And he basically said it's just not something that they practice much.
Yeah.
And that's concerning to me. I'm not going to sit here and get into a debate about whether Mike Sullivan's a good coach. He's, in my opinion, one of the top 3 coaches in hockey right now.
Right now, he's absent.
Right. But you've got to practice these situations, man. You've got to make sure that that you have situational awareness, and that player. And this is exactly what Mike Matheson said. The guys were unsure of their roles. That can't happen. Yeah, because when you get into the playoffs and you're unsure of your role and you're thinking, that split second is the difference between a 2-on-0 and maybe a goal for you. It's super important to be able to, and it's early in the season, but that's the one concerning thing to me, that the players admitted that we're not really doing these in practice, this kind of stuff in practice much. And I would be willing to bet that the shootout situation is probably something they don't practice much.
Yeah, that's because we talked to Jesse and we did say we love Sullivan's approach where like he doesn't need to be Herb Brooks, Monday through Friday all the time. And I totally get that. Hey, there's a difference between not being Herb Brooks and like, let's just chill. Like, I'm sorry, bro. Like, if you've ever played hockey and you throw 5 guys out there and tell them, hey, go kill, this empty net, man down situation, and nobody knows what the hell they're doing, you can feel it. And guys will be like, if you don't know your role and you don't know what your guy next to you's role is, hockey is a very difficult sport to play.
Panic sets in real quick. The game goes by so quick. And that's why, and this is just like the Steelers. This is not something that, is just like happens every once in a while. This is a trend with the Penguins. Yep. Now tonight, thankfully, they were on the other end of it, even though they still lost. But between the shootouts and between blowing leads, you are bleeding points. And these points add up. A point here, a point here, a point here. All of a sudden, look, right now they're in the bottom of the division, and this is a very competitive division.
So as big as a Mike Sullivan fan as I am, an apologist, I didn't even hear that. That's crazy. Yeah. So if they're not practicing these odd man advantages, shootouts, and now it's directly correlating to what we're seeing transpire.
I want to be crystal clear. That was in relation to the 6-on-5.
But that's a very common thing.
Right. That was me assuming that if that's the situation with a 6-on-5, I wouldn't be shocked if it's the same situation with shootouts.
That said, here I'm going to piss people off here. I'm still going to give this coaching staff
the benefit of a doubt.
Almost a pass right now, because I tweeted out last night that I don't know, and Jay Fresh said this, I don't know how you could possibly analyze this Penguins team with the way the roster is right now.
And that is the biggest point right there, Chad. What you just said. Say it again, man.
I don't know how you can objectively or possibly analyze this team given the construction of the roster, the health, who's missing. They've almost had a different lineup like every single game.
They're still missing Marcus Pettersson, Sidney Crosby, Evgeny Malkin, and Chad Ruhwedel.
And they just got Letang back. They just got Russ back. And then they got hurt again tonight and came back in. And now they're missing their coach.
Yeah. So here's when I'll tell you to judge the Penguins. Because if you remember last year, they started off pretty shaky last year. And then all of a sudden, something happened midway through the season. They catch fire and they win the division. Judge the Penguins in March. Okay? When we're gearing up for the playoffs and the Penguins are looking like they normally do in March, or maybe not, but in March, that's when I say judge the Penguins. We can have all the conversations we want right now, but until they're clicking on, until everyone's healthy and the lineup is what we think it should be. I mean, remember, look, right? Jeff Carter's still playing top line center.
And Evan Rodriguez is, I was going to say Rodriguez. So your top centers are Jeff Carter and Evan Rodriguez. I'm sorry. I don't know what your expectations are for that roster.
When Sid comes back and Gino comes back and nature heals itself, that's when I can say, okay, this Penguins team, we need to start worrying about this or that. Another thing I want to talk about, I talked about Mike Matheson, answering that interview question. He did a lot better answering that interview question than he did handling the puck in overtime on Tuesday night. Look, man, Mike Matheson, I know you've said this before. I'm going to steal your thunder. Mike Matheson is everything that people think Chris Letang is. People that hate Chris Letang
and don't know hockey,
right?
just to emphasize.
Mike Matheson. Look, when I went to that Toronto Maple Leafs game in October, Smitty and I were there, and that goal that Mike Matheson scored in that game, that wraparound, that end to end where he goes wraparound. One of the nicest goals that I've seen in person in a couple of years. I mean, it was beautiful, like absolutely beautiful. The dude can skate. The dude is special when he tries to do things offensively and has, I don't know, whatever mojo's going for him. When he gets that thing, he is special. He's really fun to watch. The problem is he gets that thing maybe like 20% of the time. The other 80% of the time, he gives up a puck in a neutral zone that goes the other way that thankfully didn't cause a goal. And then he gets the puck, regroups, goes down the other end, tries to do too much, falls down, gives the puck over again. And then they go down, the Blackhawks go down and almost win the game in the last couple seconds of overtime. So, all I can say is the Mike Matheson experience is a roller coaster.
For
man.
Anyone,
it's something.
I think we talked to someone, I can't remember who, but we talked to somebody about this a while back about how when there is a problem in minor league hockey whenever they're deciding who's going to play what. If you can skate like better than most, 9 out of 10 times the coach will just throw you on defense.
I think we had this conversation with Danny.
Okay. And Mike Matheson is a fantastic skater. He can skate. Not Letang, but
he can skate, man.
If you split the team down the middle, he's on the upper end of talent when it comes to skating.
Absolutely.
He should have been a forward. And I hardly ever say that about NHL defensemen. But somewhere along the line, someone was like, hey, he's a great skater. You know what? We don't have, we're just going to put him on defense because he can skate the length of the ice. I'm sorry, bro. He can't defend. He can't defend.
And when he carries the puck, he turns it over more often.
Yeah, but guess what? When your winger turns it over in the offensive zone, it doesn't hurt you as bad.
When the defenseman turns it over in the defensive zone, it's a big deal.
He should have been a forward, and I don't even know, I don't know what happened because, good Lord, they even made Brent Burns play forward at some point. This dude definitely should have. Brooks Orpik played wing for the Penguins for a game. This is the one defenseman in the world that should have actually played forward. This is the guy. I'm not a fan. You know how I feel about that. And also Pettersson going down. I thought Pettersson was their best defenseman for the first couple games. So when he gets back, that will be a big pickup. But I'm with you.
Here's the thing about Matheson. If we've got Matheson on this roster at $2.2 million, I'm not too upset about that. We've got Matheson on this roster at $4.7 million.
And that's crazy to me.
No way is he worth 4.7.
I mean, I don't want him on the roster at all. And I that's just how I feel. I mean, people know that's how I feel. If he scores, I'll tweet out, hey, good goal by Mike Matheson. But, I'm going to judge him by his overall body of work. And his overall body of work's not good.
No, it's not. Overall, it's not. And the thing about I hate to keep going back to this because there's nothing, we can't relitigate this. There's nothing you can do about it. But they make that trade for Patrick. They send Patrick Hornquist to Florida, and I'm thinking, oh, good, they cleared up some cap space. They're bringing back Mike Matheson. Oh, let me look at his cap friendly. He's what? What?
Jay Fresh had that as the second worst contract in the league at the time.
Yep, and it's And the thing about it, I'm going to actually, before we get going here, I'm going to pull it up real quick. It's not just the amount of money that they're paying him right now. It's the term as well.
And while you're looking that up, here's the thing about Matheson.
We've got him on the books until 25-26 at 4.8.
Yeah, him and Crosby, the last Penguins left.
Oh my dude, that is just.
And you would think, given all the we said, he is talented. He does have some hands. He's a great skater. So you would think he would help you on a power play. Nope, he's not even a power play specialist. I'm still trying to understand, of all the Yinzers that were in my mentions telling me that he's better than Pettersson and all this, tell me what he does to make the team better. I want to know. I want to know. If anyone can convince me, I'll cash app you $50.
I'm going to end it with this, okay? And this is what, okay, well, I want you in the comments, if you're a Pittsburgh Penguins fan, okay? If you're watching this on YouTube, in the comments, I want you to give me your legitimate answer to this question.
No trolling, no personal attacks, just
right
tell
now,
us. Yes.
All right. Mike Matheson is making $4.875 million per year over the next 5 years, okay? The only defensemen, the only ones that are making that kind of money are above $4 million are Pettersson, Dumoulin, Letang, and Marino. Okay. I'm not putting Mike Matheson above any of the four of them.
No.
So if you had, Juuso Riikola or POJ, Pierre-Olivier Joseph, would one of those guys at $1.15 million or $863,000 a year, could they do what Mike Matheson does? Could they be a serviceable defenseman for $3.5 to $4 million less than what Mike Matheson's making?
And imagine what you could do with that cap space. You're talking about either another top 9 forward, or you're talking about maybe even possibly upgrading the goaltending position.
Plus, you've got the LTIR that you're getting from Gino, so that's cap relief as well.
Yeah.
So if they were to get rid of Mike Matheson's contract somehow, they're opening up. They're going to have $5 to $6 million of cap space that they could put towards a bona fide number one or number two defenseman, top pair or second pair defenseman. If they want to go that route, they can go get a winger. They can go get a backup goalie or somebody that's been proven. But instead, we're paying Mike Matheson to be Mike Matheson.
It's just bad cap management. That's all it is.
It's terrible.
And honestly,
it's not on Ron Hextall, because I don't think that.
No, but he could try to move him.
I don't know that you can. I don't know that anybody would take that.
True.
Take that contract. The only way I see you giving or getting rid of that contract is if you send them to Arizona, or if you send them to Ottawa,
some team that needs to just hit cap floor,
right, to hit the cap floor. But then you're giving up all kinds of assets to do that.
But here's what's funny about that: you're telling me, and other people will say this too. Well, no one's going to trade for him, and then someone's going to come in our mentions and say Matheson isn't bad. If he's not bad, then why would no one want him?
Exactly. And that's what we'll leave it on. So in the comments section, let us know. Would you rather have Mike Matheson at $4.8 million a season, almost $4.9 million a season, as your number 5 defenseman? Because that's really what he is. Or would you rather see them give Ricola or POJ a chance, or even Mark Friedman, get him back? I mean, honestly, I'd take Friedman over Matheson.
He's pretty bad too, but yeah, they're.
But he's more of a defense. He's better on defense.
Yeah, I agree.
And so, would you rather have one of those guys and then use that cap space, or would you rather have the Mike Matheson experience on your hockey team?
And
that's how we'll end the show.
And last thing from me, if you are one of those people that said that he's better than Pedersen, let me know where you buy your weed from.
Right. Oh man, on that note, make sure you check out the YouTube channel. Go subscribe, hit the like button, hit the bell so you get all the notifications when all the shows come out every day. Check out the Daily Shots, check out Pirates Fan Forum, Steeler Nation, Yins Hers, Around the 412 podcast on 5th. Obviously, if you're here, you're listening to us. But, we've even got all the staff podcasts as well for you to check out. But we appreciate you supporting all the content. We appreciate you checking out our show, hanging out with us in the live chat for the YouTube premiere. Subscribe on your favorite podcast platform, whatever that may be. And we'll see you next week. For Mad Chad Nolan, I'm Eddie Provident. This has been the Mad Chad and Eddie Show on the DK Pittsburgh Sports Podcast Network. We'll see you next week.